today we are going to be making a stellated icosahedron. So materials wise, you will need your icosahedron template, your tetrahedron template, a ruler, and a protractor. And I do recommend having a clear one. I've tried this with one that was solid and I was not as successful in making it, made a couple of mistakes. Your scissors, some hot glue and a glue gun, and a couple of pieces of poster board. So, and you'll also need, however you decide to decorate your icosahedron. So today I'm going to be using some paint, so I need my brushes, and I actually have some stickers to decorate it on top of the paint. So let's have some fun. All right, so when making this, you need to pick a measurement. So for mine that I'm doing today, I'm going to use a 3-inch measurement. So on my template, all these little segments are going to be 3 inches. So it'll take a little bit of multiplication, but all those segments are going to be 3 inches. So, and even on our tetrahedron, all these segments are going to be 3 inches. There are some neat ones you can do with some more advanced, where you can make the sides a little bit longer on the tetrahedron, but we're going to do 1 icosahedron and 20 tetrahedrons. So the icosahedron and the tetrahedron are called platonic solids, named for Plato, and they are the icosahedron is a 20-faced polyhedra, so it's got 20 faces, it's 3-dimensional, and we're gonna draw this figure on the poster board, and then we're gonna draw 20 of the tetrahedrons, which is another one. It has 4 faces, all triangles, and we're gonna then glue the tetrahedrons to the faces of the icosahedrons. So that's the process of what we're gonna do. And so let's go ahead and get started. So we're gonna start with our 1 icosahedron. So I'm going to start in the corner of my poster board. So I'm gonna start with like a straight line. And if it goes a slightly opposite way, it's okay. So since I need 5 segments, I need a 15-inch line. So I'm going to draw just a straight line. Ruler is 12 inches. So every 3 inches, I'm just gonna put a tick mark so I'm gonna have to move my hand down my ruler so it stays fixed. The biggest part of this particular creation is that precision is very, very, very key. You wanna be as precise as possible. You can't just get close to the angle, you can't just get close to the measurement. If it is not exact, it will not fit together. So typically when I'm grading these, I actually do glue them together for the student in order to check their precision of their measurements. So here's my 15-inch line. I'm going to use my protractor and on the end, and so in the middle of the little bullseye at the center, I'm lining up my side straight up and down, and I'm gonna measure 60 degrees. So it's an acute angle, and typically for each part, you're only gonna have to measure 1 angle, which is really, really nifty. So then I'm going to come over here and measure 3 inches from the end of my long line to through that mark, just a little bit, so 3 inches. And then I'm going to use that mark at the end and kind of connect. From here on out, it's a lot of connecting the dots and just making that line that you need. So here's 3 inches. Also, I'm not going to make individual triangles. I'm going to just continue my lines without readjusting my ruler, hopefully as much as possible, and I'm making a continuous line. So this is currently a 9-inch line because I need 3 sections at 3 inches each. So then I'll have 2 marks here, so I'm going to use that line. So, and I'm always checking my measurements to make sure from the tick mark, or the 2 tick marks, that they are 3 inches. And as I get more tick marks, I can kind of compile my drawing together. So 4 inch. So now that I've got 2 marks, I can go ahead and do my second line here. So on the template, the dashed lines are kind of, every line will get folded. So this line is also 15 inches. So I'm just going to continue with my marks. And it's okay if you end up making extra lines, or because you can always have too much. You can always erase. Just as long as you have a row of 5 triangles on each row, this will work out just fine and do exactly what it needs to do. You can always erase, or you can just cut it off later when you're cutting these out. Because that'll be an extra line. Better to have too much than not enough. Icosahedron. I actually have a couple little extra lines there on both sides. So I can either erase those or just, cut them off later. So I do need tabs on these because I've got to have something to glue. So the big thing with the tabs is you don't want two tabs right next to each other. So I am going to, and they do not have to be perfect, but you do want them wide enough to where you can put glue on it and not burn yourself with glue. So, not really all that fun. So I am putting some tabs on here, and you do want one side that does not have any tabs. So like, as you see here, this whole side does not have any tabs on it. And it really helps when you are actually gluing the icosahedron together. So stellated actually comes from the word for star, so it's going to be star-like. So this part makes your foundation and it's like a ball almost, except it's not round, it has 20 faces. And then the tetrahedrons, when they are glued to it, become the star part of it. So there's my tabs on my icosahedron. We're ready to go to our tetrahedrons. So you can see in this diagram, the tabs are a little small. I'm gonna make them probably a little bit bigger. So when here, and you can fit as many of these on here as possible. For this larger 3-inch size, it will take 2 pieces of poster board at least, if you don't space out very well. So several pieces of poster board. So on the tetrahedrons, since we need the 2 segments, I'm doing a 6-inch line, and I am marking the midpoint. I'm going to switch to my protractor and line it up on the end in the bullseye, and I'm going to measure a 60-degree angle. So these are all equilateral triangles, so that's why the 60 degrees. And then I'm going to line my ruler back up, go through the mark for the 60 degrees, and draw another 6-inch line. And I'm going to mark the midpoint. So if I have measured right, then if I connect my 2 ends, then this should be exactly 6 inches. Precision is a big part of this, as I said earlier. And then I'm going to connect all the midpoints. So this is a segment called the mid segment. And it is exactly 3 inches, half the length of my full line, which was 6 inches, as it should be from your geometric principles and laws. So there's my tetrahedron. There's my first one. And again, I'm going to draw my tabs on it. So I'm going to draw one on one side. There's going to be a side that has none on it. And I'm going to have another one that has one on both sides. And the layout of these really just helps with the gluing, like when you get to the gluing portion. So I need 20 of these, and I am just gonna continue to kind of fit them in on my poster board as much as I can, and then switch to another sheet of poster board. So feel free to pause and do yours as well. So there's my protractor. 60-degree angle. Line up on the end. Through my mark. Mark the midpoint. Connect the end. connect. Okay, so I have all of the tetrahedrons drawn. I am now going to cut around the edges of all the tetrahedrons and the icosahedron. So typically when I'm cutting them out, I'll just kind of cut like a blob around all of them and then go back after they're a smaller piece and then cut actually along the outside lines. So make sure not to cut off the tabs and you will be good to go. So now that I have all the, everything kind of like outlined, like cut out in blobs, I'm gonna actually go through and get a little bit closer and get along all the outside edges. And as I said earlier, I don't get super close on the tabs. I want to make them a little bit big enough to be able to put glue on them and not burn myself. And if I need to trim them down, I can always trim them down. So. And let's just say you or one of your students accidentally cut off a tab. You can take some of the scrap poster board and make one and glue it to both sides. It works all right, in a fix. You can always cover it up with however you decorate as well. So yeah. Okay, so now that I have everything cut out, it's time to fold. So I'm going to start with the icosahedron, and every single line gets a fold. So all the tabs, all these lines through here, they all get folded, and make sure you're folding the same way. So if you fold like this direction, like backwards like this, then they all need to go that direction. So folding cardboard's a little difficult, so you can use a straight edge or something to kind of get right on the line. One of the things that I love about this project, but is also very frustrating when it comes to this is the attention to precision. Because if it's not precise, it does not fit together correctly. So it is a big part of this to be precise when measuring, be precise when folding, and the more like folds you have or that it's not right, it'll also kind of weaken this, because especially this part is your base to the whole thing. So you kind of want your base or your foundation to be pretty sturdy. So gotta get along those lines, and you can see it's folding there. That one just does not want to fold. Alright, so there's the tetrahedron that is, sorry, not tetrahedron, icosahedron that is folded, and then you fold the tetrahedron. So you can either go ahead and glue the icosahedron part together, because it's your base. You really don't have to decorate it unless you are just itching to. As far as painting it, I wouldn't really put anything on it, because again, this is your foundation. This part's not going to be seen. And depending on how you decorate your tetrahedrons, if you're planning to just color it, obviously you'd want to color it while it's flat. If it's something like glitter or anything like that, you would probably go ahead and fold it and glue it, and maybe even glue it to the icosahedron before you decorate it, just to go ahead and have it on its base and be able to do that. If you're using glitter, I would recommend some Mod Podge to help the glitter stick to it, and then a coat on afterwards to like actually hold the glitter on the stellated icosahedron. So that's just some suggestions, some tips that I have found that work in the past. Also, when you are drawing for your poster board, sometimes the poster board I'm currently using actually has two matte sides, but if you're using poster board that has like a shiny side, I would not draw on that side. It's very hard to erase if you make a mistake, or need to do anything with that, it's just much easier to do it on the dull side. So that's what the tetrahedron looks like when it is folded. So, and then we'll glue it together like that. So here in a moment. So I'm going to finish folding these and then I'll come back for gluing. So now I have everything folded, and now I am going to glue. So I'm going to start with my icosahedron, and so I'm actually going to do this last outer row of tabs last. So I'm going to start here. So I'm going to go ahead and label my gun. Glue that together. And as I said earlier, I usually do this part for my students because I am checking to see if their measurements are precise, to see how it goes together. So that's all done because the last one here is gonna wait just a moment. Something else I've actually done in the past with at least this icosahedron part, just wanted to do something a little different for a history of math thing, and so I had my students find 20 things about a given mathematician, or even a mathematician of their choosing, and they had to put the information on the 20 faces of the icosahedron. So it was just something. It was a little different, a little fun. So now that this last one we're down to it. A lot of times I actually do these last corners last, so I don't have to do the middle part first usually. I thought about that. Just closes right on it. So there's the icosahedron as the actual icosahedron just itself, the 20-faced platonic solid. So there's that part. And then for the tetrahedrons, I'm going to, okay, so if you're looking at this, you've got the one that's got the 2 tabs on it. So this tab is the first one I'm going to glue, kind of for the same reason of that last part of the icosahedron. It will just allow me to close the tetrahedron. So there's that part, and you can tell where I didn't fold as precise as what I should have. Try to fix that a little bit. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to. So see, I'm going to put glue here and just be able to close the tetrahedron. So like I said earlier, depending on how you are decorating your project here, you can at this point go ahead and just glue these to each face. And if you have a side that's maybe like where you messed up or something, you can glue that side to it. But because of the precision aspect of it, it shouldn't matter what side that you glue to this or not. So keep that in mind. I'm gonna finish gluing these and then start to paint.